Thank you for joining me on this prayer vigil in the summer of 2020, June, July, August. Every Friday, I invite someone I love to come and lead us in prayer. Today, we are very blessed to pray to make love visible with Girish. And look what we're going to pray. Sorrow, something every single person is feeling right now. Sorrow for the clarity, the clear vision of what we have done to one another. Clarity, vision of all the people suffering and dying with the coronavirus. Clarity and vision about the economic suffering that's happening for so many. The suffering of the families that are struggling to make a living, educate their children online. There is so much sorrow right now. And Uma is going to bless us with this awareness of sorrow as a midwife. I'm Janet Connor, and my life is about prayer. I am a prayer artist, and for me that means remembering and redefining and revaluing, returning, and renewing prayer, original prayer. Prayer before patriarchy and the prayer that's going to carry us through and out of patriarchy. We always begin with water. Water is alive. So place a glass of water beside you because it's going to hold this beautiful prayer experience of sorrow as a midwife. Oops, she wants to get ahead of me. So let us begin with the Tibetan bowl. She calls us to become fully present for these few moments together. Listen as she asks you to join her in saying, I am here, I'm here, I am here in my sorrow, in what I see happening in the world, in my desire to pray, in my desire to heal, in my desire to make love visible. I am here. And in my desire to heal the suffering of the world, I have to be open. I have to be open to the suffering of others and of myself. I'm open. And in this summer filled with sorrow, we can view it, I see it as a very sacred birth canal. And from this, if we're willing to open our eyes and see what is and see what's possible and see what our part is and say yes to fulfilling our part, then every single one of us can do our part to make love visible. So begin today by speaking it out loud. I am willing to make love visible. As that sacred vibration, you see it there in water, goes out to the world, I will read you again this prayer that I was awakened and given for this prayer vigil. Breathe, a prayer to make love visible. I perceive this as the feminine divine speaking to us and saying, in this summer, with so much sorrow, with so much suffering, she's asking, she's telling every single one of us, in order to do the work of making love visible, may you find strength. May you feel courage. May your skin crackle with a kiss of my blessing wind. Before you, beloveds, there is hope. Because behind you, I know there is thousands of years of sorrow. But beside you, I have placed sacred companions in this lifetime and in all lifetimes. Above you, my moonlight. Below you, my earth dark. And in your womb, my womb, the seed of your one mother. May your hands caress and be caressed. May your feet dance once more, a dance of joy. And always and forever may your prayers rise in the smoke, and may you breathe. One breath for yourself. Take that breath. One breath for another. And the last breath for life herself. Take one breath for yourself. Do it again. Now take a breath for another who is experiencing sorrow, another who is sick and struggling to breathe, another who is bleeding in the street. Take a breath for another. And then take a breath for me. And complete this trinity of breath. One breath for yourself. One breath for another, a sister, a brother. And the last breath, a reminder of the last breath you will take, a last breath for life herself. This is how it was. This is how it is. This is how it ever shall be, because my world is without end. Life is without end. Love is without end in truth. Now let us meet the beautiful, the magnificent Girish, author of two very precious books, Losing Amma, Finding Home, the story of the loss of her mother, and Lessons from Grace, cutest book you've ever read. This little baby is the great spiritual teacher. Thank you, Uma, for joining us to pray.
Thank you so much, Janet, for inviting me to be a part of your prayer vigil experiences. It is my deep honor to speak on the topic of sorrow. I asked the divine and my guides on the page what they wanted me to share with you today. And the loudest message that came through is that sorrow is a midwife. Sorrow is often orphaned because we don't want to feel sorrow, we don't like to feel sorrow. So sorrow feels orphaned. But what COVID 19, the holy messenger, is teaching us is that when all the distractions are taken away and how COVID has grabbed away all our distractions, there is nothing left to feel but sorrow. And sorrow is here to teach us. She is a midwife because she is the darkness of the birth canal before we can birth joy. We must walk the path of sorrow if we want to find the light, if we want to find new joy. But those of us who try to resist sorrow never end up finding the light. We continue to live in the darkness. So let's bless sorrow for the path she invites us to walk. For at the other end of the tunnel, just like at the end of the birth canal, there is light. We turn to the mind for answers all the time. That's how we've been conditioned. But mind structures are crumbling fast and furious. This is an invitation to bow to the holiness of our heart, because the heart is the container of all our sorrows. And when we bow to the holiness of our heart knows the way. Our heart is the lamp of wisdom and compassion. So let us stop looking to the mind for answers and instead trust that the heart has our compass. She has our map. She will lead us home. But we have to walk with sorrow as our guide, as our companion, as our holy messenger. The entire world is in sorrow today because of all the problems you spoke about at the beginning of this video. Unemployment, loss of jobs, loss of homes, loss of meaning and purpose, fear of what the other side of this pandemic will look like, and relationship struggles when people are stuck in homes together 24/7. There is so much about that relationship that's bubbling up to the surface. And that is an invitation for truth telling. You see, when we don't tell the truth about what's going on, we are not able to name it. And what we don't name, we cannot own. When we don't give sorrow a name, we distance ourselves from her. We don't own her. In order to embrace sorrow and walk with her, we first need to acknowledge that she exists. Once we see her, we can name her, and then with the fullness of our heart and experience, we can then release her and allow her to heal us. That is the wisdom and lesson of sorrow. So the world that we find ourselves in right now is a world that is being birthed through sorrow. So let's not condemn sorrow. Let's not push her away. Let's walk with her. Let's understand that she has a role, a very sacred role to play in our lives as the midwife, because she is going to help us to birth into our new world, a world that will be full of light and love and joy. But in order to get there, we must be willing to move through the birth canal, which is darkness, contraction, and pain.
I can see it. I can feel it. The walls are this sacred birth canal. And we women, if we have been blessed to actually birth a human being, can speak to the fear, the pain, and the strange sorrow, because what the life I had before the baby is dying. So there's the joy of life with the baby, but there's also losing the life that was. Isn't that exactly? That is exactly where we are. So bless you for bringing us into a very sacred awareness of this holy time, even though it's filled with so much pain and suffering. Oh.
And what you said is so true, Janet, because when we are in the middle of the contraction, we don't like it. But what is the midwife telling us to do? She's telling us to relax, relax into the contraction.
Well, and
Relax.
now I know why the prayer was called breathe, right? Because what did they yell at you? Push, breathe, push, breathe, push, breathe. Oh, okay. I mean, I thought that prayer was called breathe because it was the last thing George Floyd said, I can't breathe. It was the last thing Elijah said, I can't breathe. But you've just expanded the understanding of why I was given that prayer. And it is for every one of us, men too, as we birth through this time of, it could be a year long, contractions, contractions, contractions. As we get ready to drink our water, this holy water is holding all the beauty you've given us. Do you have a final, or does Sorrow, our midwife, have a thought, a feeling, an openness she'd like us to carry?
Yeah, so I'm going to invite everyone to place your hands on your heart as a recognition of this holy container. As we listen to what sorrow wants to say to us. Sorrow says, I will walk with you as your holy guide on this human journey. Do not push me away. Do not hide from me. Do not run away from me. I simply want to hold your hand and walk with you as your beloved companion, to help you open to the deepest level of joy you can experience. I'm not the enemy. I am the midwife.
Those precious teachings, words, and blessings from Sorrow are in your water. Slowly, prayerfully, consciously drink them into your body now, entering your body not as ideas, but as cellular food, cellular energy. And say out loud as you drink your water something Sorrow is whispering just to you right now. Thank you, Uma. Thank you, everyone, for joining, not really me, but all of us, in this sacred summer to make love visible. This is the 6th prayer vigil. Every one of them has been so uniquely different. If you'd like to watch them all, I set up a page at janetconnor.com/vigil. Go in love and make love visible, holding hands with your midwife, the sacred mother of sorrow.